Good evening. I hope you're well. I am Nick Cruz, the Deputy Leader of the Progressive Democrats. I and my fellow candidates in the PDP seek your support on the 8th of December, when we will all together exercise our democratic right to make a decision about who should govern us and how. We're all stakeholders in this process. I'm a 43-year-old barrister who runs a law firm I founded in '96. We employ more than 20 people. I'm married and blessed with 3 lovely kids and a very patient wife. Why do I tell you this? I guess because I want you to understand that I, like you, have a real vested interest in Gibraltar and all our future. My family and those who work with me depend, like you and your families, on our collective judgment. If we get it right, we all benefit. If we don't, we will all suffer. Therefore, the question of judgment, both yours and ours, is fundamentally important. And we really need to take a deep breath and think carefully. It's not alarmist to recognize that throughout the EU, desperation and uncertainty exist. Businesses are collapsing, there's job losses, home repossessions, and those things are a reality in most countries. We have largely been safe from cuts and their consequences, but we'd be foolish to believe that Gibraltar, if managed badly, cannot face the same challenges. As voters, we all have a responsibility, but as politicians, we have an even greater responsibility to convince you that what we offer, our policies and our people, are the right ones, the safe ones for Gibraltar, now and for the future. At this election, the PDP believe you face 3 clear choices. A real change into a safe, prosperous and progressive future with the PDP, the status quo, represented by the GSD, or a step back into the past, represented by the GSLP Liberals. Clearly we don't advocate status quo. I'm absolutely certain that change has to be the right change, what we in the PDP call the real change. In many ways, this is an exciting but somewhat scary election. In some ways, it reminds me of the 1988 election and the '96 one. It's what sport fans may call a game changer. Let me explain what I mean. In 1988, after years of AACR government, the electorate, including me as a 20-year-old, voted for much needed change. The GSLP under Joe Bolsonaro delivered that change. We saw energy and some benefit, but quickly what followed was undoubtedly a dark and shameful period for Gibraltar, a period which threatened to destroy the economic and moral fabric of Gibraltar, and from which we have taken ages to recover from. Whilst Mr. Bolsonaro remains an important pillar in that party, that deep and inexcusable failure of judgment remains cemented in their leadership. Don't misunderstand me. Joe Bolsonaro is a charismatic and likable man, but his political judgment is a huge risk for Gibraltar and a luxury we cannot afford. Have the GSLP changed under Fabian Picardo's leadership since April? Well, on the 7th of April, he told Panorama that he would not change the GSLP. And with Joe Bolsonaro looking over his shoulder, ask yourself, even if he wanted to, could he? Some may argue it's too early to say. Well, we would say on the evidence so far, definitely not. It's not the style of the PDP to concentrate on the professional and personal issues, but clearly, we, like you, should question his political judgment. After all, he is asking you to make him Gibraltar's Chief Minister. Ask yourself, what policy can you attribute to Mr. Picardo in his many years as opposition MP? None. Though now he seeks to be all things to all men. His focus has been in providing negative opposition focused on personal ambition. More specifically, since he became leader of the GSLP, his judgment on 2 important issues, namely on democratic change and the bribery provisions, demonstrated both a cynical and reckless approach to politics. In our view, Gibraltar does not need, nor can it afford that. So I'm afraid in political terms, his political judgment and the GSLP model of 2006 is no different to the GSLP model of 2011, except perhaps a little bit more gloss. So what about the other choice, the GSD? It would be childish to pretend that the GSD under Peter Caruana have not improved Gibraltar during their term in office. Our reputation and Gibraltar generally looks and feels better than it did in '96. However, by 2005, it became apparent to Keith Asapari and I that things could be done better, much better, if only we tried to govern and make decisions in a different manner, with more consensus, more consultation, more planning. We were failing in housing, education, and there was little, if any, evidence of the transparency we had promised in 1996. It was our view that Peter Caruana's style of leadership made that change very difficult from within the GSD, and so both of us left the GSD and with others we formed the PDP on a platform of democratic change and the introduction of a new style of constructive politics. Since 2006, we have constructively questioned the government's political judgment when required. Clearly, we were the first to raise serious issues of style of government. We were the first to raise concerns about the sovereignty issues raised by Córdoba. We have rightly questioned the government's spending priorities. We have questioned the government's educational policy. We have questioned the government's policy on electricity supply, its policy on housing, transport, the economy, heritage and planning. Questioning policy and priorities is not the same as lacking vision. I hope you would agree that the PDP have always been constructive and proposed alternatives. Given that here tonight I have questioned the judgment of both other parties, it is only right for you to ask me the question, what about you? What about the PDP, my colleagues, Keith Sapardi? Why should you trust our judgment? Well, let's explore that. Democracy and style of government have become an issue. There's political comment, there's TV programs about it. Both other parties have now made it an important part of their manifesto. Ask yourself why. This has and remains a PDP agenda. Back in 2006, we recognized that many of the problems Gibraltar faced and has faced are rooted in the very system of democracy and government that breeds autocracy, political stagnation and conflict. It prevents genuine scrutiny, hinders consultation, proper planning, and leads to centralized, reactive government, never a good thing. In 2006, we released a new policy approach to government and politics and parliament, and we called it Living Democracy. They were detailed and effective, and included, amongst other matters, 27 measures. These included limiting the term of Chief Minister to 8 years, reforming and televising our parliament, introducing backbenchers, establishing a truly independent tender board, establishing a development and planning board that was entirely transparent. Living Democracy formed part of our 2007 manifesto. The GSD followed our lead, and late last Parliament, they did bring a motion to Parliament that would see some democratic change and parliamentary reform. As I've explained earlier, the GSP Liberals cynically voted against the motion in September. Either way, we lead, others follow. On the economic front, in our 2007 manifesto, we suggested a 10% corporate tax rate. In January 2011, the GSD government reduced corporate tax to 10%. And lo and behold, in Gibraltar Day, the Chief Minister announced that tax revenue from corporate taxes was up 30%. Imagine if he'd taken that step in 2007. Again, we lead, others follow. On constitutional reform in 2007, we were the only party to openly and clearly set out our unwillingness to remain a colony and our natural aspiration to stop being a colonial people. We made our plans clear for Gibraltar, for a Gibraltar freely associated with the UK. In 2011, the Chief Minister publicly admitted that we could and should aspire to more. So yet again, we lead, others follow. So we're confident in saying that whilst the GSLP Liberal judgment is poor and should not be trusted, the GSD judgment is stale, and we have a history of good political judgment and vision. Our vision for Gibraltar is all about making Gibraltar a better place to live. It's not just waffle, it includes specifics on education, environment, employment, the economy. You will find it explained in detail in our manifesto or online at pdp.gi. What underpins these ideas is a common thread, namely a passion for Gibraltar and a desire and determination that it can be better, far better. So I finish once again by reminding you about what choice you have on the 8th of December. A real change into a safe, prosperous and progressive future for the PDP, the status quo represented by the GST, or a dangerous step back into the past represented by the GSP Liberals. We trust you and ask you to trust us by voting for all PDP candidates. Thank you for your patience. Good night and God bless.